Getting my hair dyed right here so you all can see. This is my friend Melody. Okay, she's going to be helping me with my video project. I'm going to be doing genetics and disease virtually. That just means that any time you have a disease that runs in your family, you have a really good likelihood of a chance to getting it. Although there are some cases where some members in your family may not get it at all, which is rare. To be honest, that's rare. So, like for example, things the most common inherited disease would be heart disease, cancer, asthma, and allergies are some of the most common things. Like I have asthma myself. I have a history of having high cholesterol, so does the rest of my family. And then there's also, let's see, okay, and then there's also mental illness such as alcoholism. Now the thing with alcoholism is just basically an addiction to alcohol. And once you start, it's really hard to quit, which is why I don't even do it myself. With the rare occasion I do, it's a glass of wine, but I have to be really in the mood for it. But I don't get drunk on a daily basis. I don't drink an entire pack of beer on a daily basis like most people I know do, unfortunately. I don't even smoke. Smoking is also very addicting, and it's one of the major causes to heart disease, which is another thing that some people in my family have a history of having. Like my mom's maternal father, my maternal grandfather died at the dinner table suddenly one day because he had a heart attack at the dinner table. Before I was even born, so I never did get to know who he was. And my dad's paternal grandmother died for the same reason, except I was a toddler. Yet again, I still did not get to know who she was. So, a short summary of why it's important that you stay healthy. You make good life choices. You make sure the environment around you is healthy, so that way you don't die suddenly very young. Now we're gonna move on to diabetes. Fun little fact: there's type 1 and then there's type 2 diabetes. Now, type 2 diabetes is the most common form of diabetes there is, with about 90% of people out there having it. Now, unfortunately, if your family has a history of obesity, then you are more likely to develop type 2 diabetes, which means you won't be able to consume any kinds of sugar, and you won't be able to consume any drinks that have caffeine in it. So coming from a server, when a customer wants to order a coffee, I ask them if they want regular decaf, because not everybody can have regular coffee for that very reason. And then there are some people that want unsweetened iced tea, or Diet Coke, or just plain water, whatever. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. The first thing you guys want to think is, we're in the South. We drink sweet tea. We drink regular soda. Decaf coffee is fake coffee. I've heard it all. I even admit to thinking that myself. But now, with the amount of serving experience I have behind me, I can see why people order that kind of stuff. Because their heart can only take so much caffeine before they have a massive heart attack and not make it to the hospital in time, if they do at all. Which is unfortunate. And sometimes, fun little fact, some forms of diabetes can easily cause a massive heart attack, which happened to one of my cousins in Texas just recently, about a year ago. He was found dead in his apartment because his blood sugar went skyrocketing, and he was found in his apartment dead, which is really sad because the very last time I saw him was at my grandmother's funeral the summer before that. So, and then as for type 1 diabetes, I mean, it can be inherited, but the thing about it, only a small fraction of people really inherit that from either their mom or their dad, whether mom has it or dad has it or both of them have it. But things like cold weather or viruses such as measles, that can easily trigger type 1 diabetes. Now, type 1 diabetes, believe it or not, it's not as serious as type 2 diabetes, but it's still something that needs to be looked into. So now, heart disease, as I said earlier, I really do not recommend you guys smoke. If you guys, once you guys start smoking, it's really hard to get rid of it, and you have a higher chance of developing heart disease once you start smoking. and it also affects your lungs as well. My dad, even though you think because he's a doctor and a pulmonologist, he would know better than to smoke, but even though he quit about a decade ago when I was a kid, he still developed CPOD, and now he suffers from that because of it. It does not matter. I have a coworker who knows of somebody who died because due to secondhand smoke. So smoking, big no-no. Big no-no right there. And so, and actually, they just recently made it illegal for you to smoke in your car while any kid under the age of 18 is in the car with you, and that's a fair enough reason. Child services would be involved there. Okay, and as far as high blood pressure goes, high blood pressure can also cause coronary heart disease, which is why some people can't consume high amounts of salt, if any at all. When I was working at Outback Steakhouse, sometimes I'll get customers that will that will have their steaks or chicken either very light seasoning or no seasoning whatsoever. Of course, I have to honor that because that's part of my job. Last thing I want to happen to any server is for them to be involved in a loss of a job and a lawsuit because somebody got seriously ill or passed away because they suffered a really nasty heart attack because of a server or a kitchen mishap. Kitchen mishap. Now, allergies is something that most everybody has. Like, for example, I'm allergic to opioids, so even though I'm not the kind of person that would do drugs, if I do happen to do drugs one day, for whatever reason I may have, you'll never see me as a heroin addict because when I was 12 years old, I was hospitalized for this rare disease called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. They injected me with morphine, which is an example of an opiate, and I suffered from anaphylactic shock almost immediately. And so they had to take me off of morphine right away, and they put me on something else very similar, and I was fine after that. Nowadays, if I were to take morphine as a pain medication, I probably would not have made it through surgery, which would have been rather tragic for all my friends and family. And so, and speaking as a server, did you know that the top 6 food allergies are soy, tree nuts and nuts, shellfish, seafood, dairy, and gluten? I have a friend of mine who has celiac disease. The celiac disease is somebody that can't have any gluten whatsoever. Now, an intolerance is something different. They can have a small amount of portion, they'll be fine, but too much of it, they can get really sick. But when you have celiacs or you're lactose intolerant, you can't have any of that at all, or you'll get deathly ill. So anytime a customer says, "Oh, I can't have gluten, I can't have shellfish, I have a severe allergy to peanuts," gotta let the kitchen know, gotta let the kitchen manager know, because again, that is your job. Last thing you want to do is be involved in a lawsuit and lost your job because somebody did not make it to the hospital. And so yeah. Well, anyways. Like I said, I'm dyeing my hair right now as I do this, and so I'm sorry it looks this way. Hope you guys enjoyed my very interesting video on why it's important to do very good habits for yourself, live in a nice healthy environment. If you're a server or if you work in any kind of food service, you honor the customer's allergy requests, and make sure you make that money and don't don't make any bad decisions for yourself or for other people. So, peace.